Let's go. This is a Porsche 911 GT3, and this is the touring version, or as Porsche calls it, the 911 GT3 with the touring package, as everybody else calls it, the 911 GT3 Touring. And this is the top of the range right now that you can get for Porsche for their sports cars. The only other GT3 right now is the GT3, which has the fixed spoiler at the back. So this car doesn't have that. That's what makes it unique. I'm Oliver, and this is Tech in the Car. Let's talk about this car now. So this car is very much where it all happens. It is a 4-litre naturally aspirated 6-cylinder engine putting out 510 horsepower and 440 newton meters of torque. It can do 0 to 60 in less than 3 seconds, although in this form with a manual gearbox it is slightly slower. It has a red line on that engine of 9,000 RPM, which you'll hear a bit later when I take it for a drive, and it takes all of the GT3 styling and makes it a bit more restrained, a bit more classic, I think Porsche would describe it. So we still have these grills at the front which will let all the air into the front of the car for cooling. We still have a front skirt, we still have this sculpted bonnet, and down the side we have these staggered wheels which are wider at the back than the front, and we have this homage to previous older generation 911s with this protector on the side of the car. These are all things which are on the other 911 GT3, but that has a big wing at the back. This doesn't. This car has the performance and the handling and the looks of a pure thoroughbred, and it's definitely an eye catcher wherever you drive it. This car is quite something. Let's have a look what's under the bonnet, because I think you'll find there's something interesting under there. Now, what about the frunk on the GT3 Touring? Well, let's have a look and see how much space we have in here. Have a look at that carbon fiber. And then down inside the car here, there's a lot more going on here. We've got our center locking wheel nut here as well. So you can unlock those center locked wheels, which is very, very, very cool. And by the way, that's the first time I ever took that out and put that back, and I did it in one go. That's pretty good. We can see the holes here at the front for these vents. You have to push down on it. So fantastic front. You can see the wide wheel haunches. Let's have a look towards the back now. At the rear of this GT3 Touring, there's some interesting things. First of all, this black side blade is reminiscent of the 3.2 Carrera from Porsche's history. These wheels are 315 at the back with 21-inch wheels. At the front, they're 255 with 20-inch wheels. So they're wider and bigger at the rear than the front, which means this car has a huge amount of grip back here, which is why it has such good performance from the rear-wheel drive system on this car. Towards the back, we have this spoiler. So this is not obviously the fixed spoiler. This is an electronically deployable spoiler at the back, which comes up when it's needed or by pressing a button inside. Here at the back of the GT3 Touring, we have our deployable spoiler. We have our Porsche light bar with our cool blacked out Porsche logo, which is kind of sticking out from the car there. And then we have this massive diffuser and these two black sports exhausts for the GT3 cars. And it's just very aggressive. It looks very, very good. But as you will notice, throughout this car, there are lots of factors which consider to make this a bit more classy and a bit more sophisticated than a GT3 with the big wing on the back. Now, personally, I'd rather have the big wing on the back, but this car definitely looks the part. You join me inside the Porsche GT3 Touring. Now, this car feels very, very luxurious, but also very centered towards its racing pedigree. But it feels more soft and more general than the GT4 I went in with, the 718 came in. We have the same carbon fiber bucket seats, which feel really comfortable and are very, very stylish, and they look fantastic, but are incredibly uncomfortable to get in and out of. You really need to be very young to get in and out of these cars, or at least you need to have practice getting in and out of these seats, because it is a bit of a tricky thing to do. Nevertheless, when you're driving it, you forget about the seats, and I'm sure you'd get used to it. As for the actual steering wheel, we've got the same beautiful Porsche steering wheel as the other cars. It's a shame this isn't in Alcantara. It's a shame there's no 12 o'clock stitch there. But again, that's something which I'm sure you can option from Porsche. We've got our drive mode selector buttons. We've got our cup holder. Unlike the GT4 came in, we don't have the old previously designed 2 cup holders in the middle of the dashboard there. Now we've got one on the side and one in the middle here. We do have the new larger infotainment system which can support Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. We've got our center analog tachometer, and then to the left we have some information, and to the right we have some information. I say some information because you can only see half of it sitting in this car. This is not something which I'm the first person to notice, but it is something which is a bit strange. In terms of everything else in this car, this is a 2-door coupe. There's no back seats. So it means we have a nice little storage space here where you can actually store a lot of stuff back here. It's actually very, very spacious. If you add the really deep front at the front of this car too, to the space in the back here, then there's actually a lot of space in this car. There's no scratchy plastics in here anywhere. Everything is nicely covered in leather or nice material. So, you know, the buttons feel really good. Even the cup holder, for a cup holder, feels pretty nice. So everything is just really, really top notch in here. I like the interior a lot. I actually really like the climate control buttons here. I think those are very, very tactile and very, very easy to use. I like that. Welcome inside the Porsche 992 911 GT3 with the Touring package, or as lots of people just call it, the GT3 Touring. But this is the Touring, which basically means that it doesn't have a big wing on the back, but in every other way it's meant to be exactly the same as the GT3. It's the same price as a GT3, but it's a very, very, very pricey car. Not the most pricey car in the Porsche range. That is still reserved for the Turbo and the Turbo S, but still a very, very dear car. But for that you get a 4-litre naturally aspirated engine with 6 individual valves, which puts out 510 horsepower and over 400 Newton meters of torque that can do 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds and is very, 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 very fast. And inside the car, this feels a lot more comfortable than the 718 GT4. I have to be honest, 718 GT4 was so cramped because it came in as a smaller car. This is a much, much, much more comfortable car. Here we go, around a corner, around a bend. Porsche deletes corners. Yeah, feel that. That is unbelievable. How much it's stuck to that corner there. Unbelievable. Carry on up here. It's just the handling is just like, I mean, there's no lag. Obviously, this is a naturally aspirated engine, so unlike the turbo engines that you expect where you get a bit of turbo lag, there's no lag. I just drop this down into 5th gear and I'm gone, 4th gear, and we go up. We got a 9,000 RPM red line on this car, so we can rev it right up. Let's go to 2nd gear and then put it in again. You hear that noise? It's something. That is something. A very different noise to the noise we heard from the GT4. Let's give ourselves a little launch. Let's go. And brakes. There we go. Now let's go off a little country lane and let's see what the handling is like down here. And we're going through these country lanes, and you know, wow, this is an incredible car to handle. It really does feel good, even though this is bumpy. We're in a bumpy car. It really doesn't feel like you're in a bumpy car. It feels like you're in a thoroughbred. It feels like you know, this feels more comfortable right now to handle than the Cayenne did on its massive 22-inch wheels. Again, it is bumpy, and you can feel the bumpiness. And I know Chris Harris mentioned a bit about this car feeling like he was moving around a bit too much in the seat, more than he wanted to. You know, I'm not sure that I feel that myself, although Chris Harris has driven a lot more cars than I have, so, you know, I take his opinion as gospel. But like, what I would say is that driving this car is amazing, and it feels amazing, and it handles amazing. Let's open the window and get some noise. And you can hear the intake noise. So what are my impressions of the GT3 Touring? It is a fantastic, fantastic car. Is it worth the money? Yes, it is. Would I prefer PDK? I would, because I don't like manual. But it is a fantastic car. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed driving the GT3 Touring with me. And please give this video a like. And I have videos on the other Porsches I've seen today, the Cayenne Turbo GT, and also the 718 Cayman GT4 too, as well as a Macan T. So check those out. Thank you very much, everyone.